Welcome to Kensho Quest. Today we're going to be answering questions about Shinkansen bullet trains in Japan. First we have a presentation prepared, and then after that we'll open it up to questions that we receive in the chat box. You can go ahead and put your questions there. A little bit about us here on Kensho Quest. We share tips to help you plan an amazing trip to Japan. We've visited Japan many times over the past 20 years. Our family are digital nomads, so we travel long-term, live all over the world. I'm Heidi.
I'm George. And let's get this party started. We will start with a presentation first, and then after that we will gladly take your questions, so feel free to drop them in the chat at any time.
And this will be recorded and available to watch later on our channel in case you're not able to watch the whole thing today.
All right. So, first of all,
what is a Shinkansen? Also, let us know in the comments if you can hear us fine. Is the sound okay? All right, so starting with what is a Shinkansen? A Shinkansen, which is also known as a bullet train, is a high-speed train service in Japan. They're popular because they're fast, punctual, and comfortable. To me, I find it even easier than riding on an airplane. Another advantage is that it takes you from the heart of one city right into the heart of another city versus an airport that might be located on the outskirts of town.
what are the Shinkansen train lines in Japan? Well, there are quite a few of them, as you can see on this map here. Every single colored line here represents a different Shinkansen line. Starting from the top, we have the Hokkaido going down south, Akita, Yamagata, Joetsu, the Hokuriku as well, the Tohoku and the Tokaido, and farther south we have the Sanyo, Kyushu, and Nishi-Kyushu. And if you're wondering why the Tokaido is the largest one, if anybody wants to take a guess, why? So the reason why is it is the most popular line in Japan, especially by tourists, because it goes from Tokyo to Kyoto and Osaka.
They're saying we're a little bit quiet, so maybe make sure we're talking to the mic.
Okay. So what we will do is we will turn up our mic a little bit.
We're just going to turn up the volume a little bit for you.
And bring it closer.
Okay. Hopefully you can hear us better now. Yes, we are live. Could be a little bit louder. Okay, we're trying to turn up the volume right now.
Okay, that should do it. Let us know, anyways. So,
it's your question.
Is it?
Yes.
No, it's not. It's yours.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, moving on. This is my question to answer. So, which is the fastest Shinkansen train service? This is something that a lot of tourists get wrong, or a lot of YouTube videos. Here's your hint right here. Let us know in the chat what you think is the fastest Shinkansen train service in Japan. Any guesses? You can see from this picture here. Okay, the Hayatu Shinkansen runs at a top speed of 320 kilometers per hour, which is almost 200 miles per hour. So if you're traveling on the Tohoku line from Tokyo north heading up to Hokkaido, you might ride on the Hayabusa, which is the fastest. Also, the Komachi also runs at a top speed of 320 kilometers per hour. Sometimes it runs a portion of its route coupled together with the Hayabusa, and then they split apart, and the Komachi runs the rest of the way by itself to Akita.
So that red one is the Komachi.
And the Nozomi is actually the second fastest with a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour or 186 miles per hour.
So within Tokyo, at which stations can you board a Shinkansen train? They are Tokyo Station, Ueno Station, and Shinagawa Station only. There are no other stations in Tokyo where you can board a Shinkansen train. And this is by design because Shinkansens, they run on a special track. So because of that, there are very few stations throughout Japan, actually, and Tokyo actually has the most, being 3. Now, to make it a little more complicated, it also depends on where you're going, where will depend where you can get on a Shinkansen. So again, I'll show you the map here, and we can think of Japan as basically separated into east and west. So anything that looks north from here from Tokyo is considered east, and anything south, this is actually west. And if you look, it looks more like west and east, but maybe not so much. So anyways, if you're going east, Tokyo, East Japan, this includes the Hokuriku Shinkansen line, as well as all these other lines up here. The main ones, again, are the Tohoku and the Hokuriku. This is considered JR East and Eastern Japan, and you would board the Shinkansen from only these two stations, Tokyo Station and Ueno Station. If you are traveling West Japan, these are the Tokaido, Sanyo, and Kyushu Shinkansen lines, and you can board the Shinkansen at either Tokyo Station or Shinagawa Station. Now, which train services run on the Tokaido Shinkansen line? The Tokaido Shinkansen, we're focusing kind of a little bit on the Tokaido Shinkansen because it is the most popular line used by tourists, okay? Now, it starts from Tokyo and it goes all the way to Kyoto and Shin Osaka. There are 3 different Shinkansen line services on the Tokaido Shinkansen line. The first one is the Nozomi Shinkansen, and it is the fastest. And these stops here along the way, Tokyo, Shinagawa, Shin Yokohama, Nagoya, Kyoto, and Shin Osaka are the only stations it stops at. And because of this, this is the main reason why it is the fastest service on the Tokaido Shinkansen. The second is the Hikari Shinkansen, and it stops at a few more stops, including Odawara, Mishima, Gifu, Hashima, and Maibara. But it doesn't always stop on these, so you need to check the schedule. If you're going to be taking the Hikari, which is probably very common, especially if you're going to take the JR Pass, you would be riding the Hikari most of the time. You want to make sure you check the schedule to see when they're available. Because again, they don't always stop at all of these stops. And the slowest is the Kodama service, and it is because it stops at every single station along the way, every single one. Now, if we want to look at the travel times on the Tokaido Shinkansen, we can see here if we are going from Tokyo to either Nagoya, Kyoto, or Osaka, you can see the times for the Nozomi. Nagoya, 1 hour 36 minutes. On the Hikari, it's 1:49, Kodama, 2:39. The bigger differences are when you go all the way to Osaka, you can see the Nozomi in 2:27, Hikari 2:55, and Kodama 3:54. So that's where you start to see the big difference if you're going farther distances. However, again, if you are using the JR Pass, you're most likely going to be using the Hikari because the Nozomi by default is not included. All right. How often do Shinkansen trains run from Tokyo to Kyoto or Osaka? Very often, actually, and during the peak hours, the Nozomi runs at about every 10 minutes. So throughout the day, there are over 200 Shinkansen trains that run on this line every single day. So because of that, the chances of you getting on a train are extremely high. So even if you missed one, there's usually another one in a few minutes' time. The only time when you would really need to worry about this is during a holiday, like during Golden Week or New Year's or just all of the major holidays. When you are traveling from Tokyo to Osaka, which seat should I choose to see Mount Fuji? So this depends on the type of car you're riding. Most of us will be riding an ordinary car, and the seats are D and E, with D being the window seat.
Now, with E being the window seat.
I'm sorry, with E being the window seat. And as you can see here on this chart here, we have a 3-2 configuration, and we want to choose seats here on the D and E side, always. And the Shinkansen train, it does not turn around. So it goes in one direction and backs up and returns in the same way it came. And because of that, it's always going to be seats D and E if you want to see Mount Fuji. Again, with E being the window.
So it doesn't matter if you're going Tokyo to Osaka or Osaka to Tokyo. It stays the same.
Yes. And the only difference is if you're taking the green car, it's going to be seats D and E, and that is because...
C and D.
Sorry, I'm dyslexic. It's C and D, with D being the window seat. And again, the Shinkansen does not turn around, so it stays the same in both directions. So when is the best to view Mount Fuji when you're riding the Tokaido Shinkansen line? It would be starting from Mishima Station if you're coming from Tokyo, all the way till Shin Fuji Station. But you can still see it a little farther all the way to Shizuoka. But as you can see on the map here, this is the ideal places where you want to start looking for Mount Fuji between Mishima and Shin Fuji. And this is starts from about 40 minutes after departing Tokyo. Now, if you are going to be staying in the Mount Fuji area, for instance, around Kawaguchiko, which is the Five Lakes area, and you want to get on the Shinkansen afterwards and head to Kyoto or Osaka or even farther south, you can board at 2 different stations. So if you were coming from the Five Lakes area, again, the Kawaguchiko area, you want to board at Mishima Station. You can actually take a bus from here to Mishima Station. And if you were staying in the Hakone area, then you want to board the Shinkansen at Odawara Station. Now, the one thing you need to take into consideration is if you go this route, you can only board 2 different Shinkansens, either the Hikari or the Kodama. The Nozomi will never stop at these 2 stations. So just keep that in mind. Again, Odawara and Mishima stations.
Shinkansen trains are composed of which type of train cars? We touched on this a little bit already. So trains on the Tokyo Shinkansen Line offer the following types of train cars. So when you're purchasing your ticket, you're going to need to select one of these. There are non-reserved ordinary class, reserved ordinary class, reserved green class. But keep in mind that during peak season, sometimes the trains will stop offering non-reserved and make it so that the entire train requires reservations. That tends to be during busy holiday seasons when a lot of Japanese people are traveling. So this is a look inside ordinary class. The non-reserved car and the reserved car are going to look the same inside. The difference is that with non-reserved, you just take any train that day, and when you go into the train car, you can choose any available seat. Or if it's really busy and there is no seat available, then you get to stand. Whereas with a reserved ordinary car, you will have a specific seat assigned to you. So for instance, it'll say that you're on seat 6E, so you will know that you have a seat to sit in. And then in green class reserved, the seating configuration is a little bit different. It's 2 by 2, so seats are a little bit bigger and supposedly more comfortable. You also get a footrest in green class. So it's a step up from ordinary. Keep in mind that there are some Shinkansen that are reserved only. So the Komachi that runs on the Akita line, the Hayabusa that runs on the Tohoku line, and the Kagayaki that runs on the Hokuriku line. So for example, if you were using the Hokuriku Arch Pass. So for these trains, you must reserve a seat. You cannot ride on these 3 Shinkansen if you do not have a seat reservation. Also, some, but not all, of the JR East trains offer Grand Class, and this is when it gets really nice, much fancier seats, and then also food and beverages would be included in with the price of your tickets. I have this on my bucket list to ride Grand Class sometime between Hokkaido and Tokyo because it's not all that much more expensive the way that first class airplane tickets are. Next, what are the baggage restrictions on Shinkansen? And I see a couple of you mentioned this in the comments, in the chat box already. So each person can bring 2 pieces of luggage on board, weighing up to 30 kg each, which is about 66 pounds. Now, oversized luggage is if the length plus width plus depth of your suitcase is 161 centimeters up to 250 centimeters. So anything, if you add up those 3 dimensions and you're within 160 centimeters, that's just considered a regular suitcase. So to give you some reference, a carry-on suitcase is going to be perfectly fine. A medium 25, 26-inch suitcase is also going to be fine. That will fit fine on the overhead rack within the Shinkansen. Somebody asked about a 30-inch suitcase. You're going to have to measure all your dimensions to know whether or not that is over. And a good thing to keep in mind is if your luggage is oversized for a Shinkansen, it's likely also oversized for your airplane flight. So if you're paying an oversized baggage fee on your flight, that's the kind of suitcase where it's going to be oversized for the Shinkansen as well. So if you're traveling in West Japan on the Tokaido, Sanyo, or Kyushu Shinkansen lines, then you need to make a specific seat reservation that comes with an oversized baggage area or an oversized baggage compartment if you have an oversized suitcase. So again, get out that tape measure, measure it, and check whether or not your suitcase is oversized. Typically, medium suitcases fit up above on the overhead rack fine. large suitcases might be a bit too big. So again, once you get to 161 centimeters, that's oversized. And you can't bring it if it's bigger than the 250 centimeters. So within East Japan, so the Tohoku, Hokuriku, these other Shinkansen lines, they do not have this rule about reserving a special seat for oversized luggage. Instead, they have luggage racks on the train, so you'll just look for the luggage rack and you can place your suitcases there. I believe the Tokaido removed their luggage racks. People were bringing too much and too big of things onto the train. But if you're traveling in the East Japan area, just look for the luggage rack. Up next, how to pay to ride a Shinkansen train. There are two main ways you might be paying for your Shinkansen ride. You can either purchase a single journey Shinkansen ticket, or you can use a Japan Rail Pass, the whole Japan Rail Pass, or a regional pass for unlimited rides. So first of all, how can I buy a single journey ticket? This means from point A to point B. You can purchase Shinkansen tickets at a JR ticket office, at a reserved seat ticket machine within a train station, or online, which is the best option if you want to purchase from abroad before you get to Japan. So you'll look for this symbol either on the JR office or on the machines. This is the Midori no Madoguchi. So if you see that, that's where you can reserve Shinkansen tickets. How many days in advance can I reserve Shinkansen tickets? Generally, it's 1 month in advance of your train trip. However, there are some ways that you can pre-order your tickets before that. For example, you can pre-order on Klook up to 90 days in advance, but you won't be assigned your specific seat number if you're getting a reserved seat until you're within that 30-day or 1 month window, because that's JR companies operate with a 1 month window for buying tickets. Can I buy a Shinkansen ticket on the day of my journey? The answer is yes. However, I would caveat this: if you wait to buy your Shinkansen ticket when you show up at the train station and you're hoping to get a reserved seat, the particular time of train that you want may not be available. So you may just have to choose a little bit later of a train. Also, however, if you want to ride just in non-reserved, then you have a good shot of just getting on a train if you're fine with non-reserved not having a particular seat. So which times of year is it recommended to buy tickets early? George alluded to this a little bit earlier. There are certain holiday seasons in Japan where the trains can get full and sell out. So during these times, we do recommend buying your train tickets as much in advance, so about a month ahead of time. Golden Week, which is in late April to early May. Oban Festival in mid-August. New Year, so the end of December to beginning of January. And then I left a link in the description where you can look up other Japanese holidays, because sometimes there's ones we've never heard of before and they actually affected our train travel because the schedule could be different or the trains could be fully booked during holidays that we've never heard of before. So, are seat reservations recommended? Do you want to ride reserved versus riding non-reserved? I think a lot of first-time travelers choose to ride reserved because they want to ensure that they will definitely have a seat to sit down in, whereas if you ride non-reserved and it happens to be rush hour or a holiday season, there is that risk of having to stand. However, we actually ride most of the time in non-reserved, especially if we're using like a JR pass. You want to explain why we like
Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons why. First, we're a family, and because we have young kids, we can't always be sure we're going to make a reservation. And so that gives us a lot of flexibility. And that also means we can just pretty much ride on any train we want to.
So just to clarify there, when you're riding non-reserved and you buy your ticket, you get to use that ticket anytime that day. So especially for those of you who are trying to get on a Shinkansen, like after visiting Mount Fuji and you're not sure exactly what time you'll get to the station, if you choose to go non-reserved, it doesn't matter any time that day on that segment you can ride.
Yes. Also, you'll save a little bit of money. If you're not sure what time you're going to be able to get to the station, and if you're going to pay more for a reserved seat, and if you miss it, you have no choice but to ride non-reserved. So another reason why we like to travel non-reserved is, this is kind of a hack, is because we have young kids that are under the age of 6, they can ride for free. However, if you ride in reserved and you want your kids to have a seat, even the ones that are under 6, you need to pay for their seat. Now, if you're riding non-reserved, as long as they can get a seat, that's their seat. So that's a huge bonus for us to be able to ride in non-reserved.
And during non-busy times of year, we've definitely had the situation where we walked into a non-reserved car and it was totally open. So all 5 of us could easily just sit down where we wanted to in the non-reserved car. It depends on the time of year. How much does it cost to ride the Shinkansen? So the price of your ticket is going to depend on a few factors. It's going to depend on the distance you're traveling, which train service you choose. For example, the Nozomi might be slightly more expensive. Then also which class you're riding in, ordinary or green, and whether you choose non-reserved or reserved. There is an additional fee for reserving seats when you're buying just a single journey Shinkansen ticket. So for example, if you're traveling from Tokyo to Kyoto in ordinary reserved, the price is around 13,970 yen, which is about 93 US dollars. And the prices do fluctuate a bit depending on what time of day or which day you take the train, so it's not always an exact set. That's why we're saying approximately. Or if you're going from Tokyo to Yokohama in ordinary non-reserved, then that's around 1,380 yen or $9.30. So sometimes in our videos, people are like, how did you buy a Shinkansen ticket for $9? They cost $90. Well, it depends where you're going. If you just want to get from Tokyo to Yokohama, that can be a pretty cheap ticket. Do children require a Shinkansen ticket? So to explain this more fully, children who are ages 5 years old and younger can ride for free, up to 2 kids per paying adult. If you have a 3rd child or more, then those children will need a child ticket. Ages 6 to 11 years old qualify for a child ticket, which costs half of the adult fare. And if you want your child who is 5 years old or younger to occupy their own reserved seat, then you must purchase them a child ticket. So for us, if we wanted to ride in the reserved car, our youngest 2, we need to buy them tickets or have them sit on our lap, which is not very comfortable. Whereas going non-reserved, they could just grab a seat. Can I use a Japan Rail Pass on the Shinkansen? The answer is yes. This is the main benefit to getting a whole Japan Rail Pass, is that within the valid period, it allows unlimited rides on the Shinkansen bullet trains, and they can be expensive tickets. You can be paying around $100 for a ticket. So if you are going to be riding a Shinkansen pretty much every day of your 7 days or 14 days or 21-day pass, then it can be really worth it. With a 7-day pass, you need to be riding trains like Shinkansen trains about 6 of those days to make it worth it. If you have a longer duration pass, maybe you don't need to be riding a train every day, but you've got to be really frequently going from one city to a next for it to pay off. So this is the Japan Rail Pass website. Now, can JR Pass holders use all Shinkansen train services? We alluded to this a little bit before, but sorry we didn't clarify then. So with the JR Pass, specifically the whole Japan Rail Pass that covers all of Japan, you can ride on all of the Shinkansen lines, all of the routes. However, on the Tokaido, is it Tokaido and Sanyo? Basically, if you're in West Japan and you want to ride on the Nozomi or the Mizuho, then you need to pay a supplemental fee above the price of the JR Pass to ride on those ones. And we showed the times before. To us, riding between Tokyo and Kyoto, it's not really that much faster on the Nozomi versus the Hikari, so we wouldn't personally pay the supplemental fee to be able to go on the Nozomi. And it is specifically called the Only with Japan Rail Pass Nozomi Mizuho ticket. So this is a very specific ticket that you get if you want to put that supplement on top of your JR Pass. It's different than when you're buying a single journey ticket. When you're buying a single journey ticket, the price is very similar for the Kodama, Hikari, or Nozomi. So if you're buying a single journey ticket, just go ahead and ride the Nozomi. If you have a JR Pass, we wouldn't choose. You can see there's some prices on the screen here. Well, 4,950. I can't even read that.
That's the supplemental fee on top of your JR Pass.
So is the JR Pass still worth it after the price increase? In the fall of October 2023, the price went up by about 70%. It was a significant increase. So now if you're traveling Tokyo to Kyoto to Osaka and returning back to Tokyo, then no, we do not recommend getting the 7-day JR pass. It's not going to be a cost savings for you. However, if you're going a bit farther, adding in some more cities, such as going Tokyo to Kyoto to Osaka, all the way to Hiroshima, stop off at Himeji and back to Tokyo, then yes, you could save money by getting a 7-day JR pass if you're doing all that travel within 7 days. The more cities you stop off at the farther distances you go, the more likely it's going to pay off.
I just wanted to add one thing too, is also take into consideration the convenience of the JR Pass. So if you're on the fence thinking the price is very similar, think about the convenience. That in itself is priceless to us, at least.
And for instance, missing a reserved train is like no big deal at all if you have a JR Pass, whereas you could have lost a lot of money for your reserved seat if you had bought a single ticket. You'd have to ride in non-reserved.
Right. And again, if you have a JR Pass, you can re-reserve another train at any time for no additional cost. So once you pay that fee, there's no additional cost. Versus if you bought individual tickets, if you wanted to ride reserved, again, you'd have to pay for a new ticket completely.
And the JR Pass, yeah, it covers the seat reservations, so you don't pay anything extra for riding reserved. We do have a video on whether or not it's worth it to get the JR Pass, so you can watch that for more details on how to calculate if it's worth it for your particular route. And I've also linked below a JR fare calculator where you can enter in all the cities you're going to stop at, and it will calculate for you to compare the cost of the JR Pass versus cost of buying individual tickets.
So how early should I arrive at the station for my Shinkansen journey? Well, if you are a first-timer, then definitely arrive at least 1.5 hours before your departure time. And this will give you enough time to use the restroom, buy an ekiben, which is like a Japanese lunchbox, and to find your platform, which can take a lot of time. To give you an example, also, if you are late, you will miss your train because the trains run on time. So 1 minute late, sorry, you missed your train. So arrive early. And as an example, Tokyo Station is huge. It is really, really big. And if it's your first time there, you can get lost. We still get lost there. We've been there so many times, and it's still easy to get lost. So how do you figure out which platform your train is on? And this is important because it doesn't say on your ticket what your platform is. So you want to check your ticket for the name of the train service, the train number, and the departure time. So here are a couple of example tickets. I don't know if you guys can see this, but if you look closely down here, on this ticket here, you can see on the name of the train service is the Hayabusa with number 44, and it departs at 17:26. So by knowing these three things, you'll be able to look at the platform board, and it's going to give you some information. Here's another example where you might just get a seat information, like if you scan a QR code or using Smartex system, you're going to get one of these instead. Here we have the Nozomi train service is 90, and it departs at 11:30. So this is the information we need. Now, what you want to do after you have this information is look up above for one of these boards here. And you can see here, if I go down here, again, based on my ticket information, I can see the Nozomi 90 departs at 11:30 on track 27. And by the way, track and platform are used interchangeably, so you might see it written both ways. So based on this, we know that this is platform number 27. Again, if you look at the ticket here, you can see where we got this information. Okay.
So it's the Nozomi 90 departing at 11:30, platform 27.
Here's another example. This is from Tokyo Station. Again, if you don't see those other larger boards, once you enter the platform area, you will see these here. And just an example, the Hikari 643 at 12:33, you can see right here, it departs from platform 15, and the Nozomi 229 at 1300 right under here is also from platform 15. Okay, now I want to show you a map of Tokyo Station. Again, because this is such a massive station, this map does not do it justice. This station is so huge. So if you are going to be making this your first departure station, please get there early, and if possible, take a taxi. And the reason why is you can tell the taxi driver that you are taking the Shinkansen, and they will know where to drop you off at the entrance to the Shinkansen gates. Because if they drop you off on the other side, it could literally take you half an hour to get from the back side to the front side. So take a taxi if you can. If you can't, that's okay. Once you get inside, ask an attendant that you tell them you need to go to the Shinkansen gate.
And I just want to mention that there are many floors in Tokyo Station. So the Shinkansen are on the ground floor. If you're using Google Maps and it says you're in the right location, but you still don't see the Shinkansen gates, you could be on the wrong floor.
Yes. So again, try to take a taxi if possible. It'll drop you off right here in the front. And just a little extra information, if you were taking the Tokaido Shinkansen, which again heads towards Nagoya, Kyoto, Osaka, and farther south all the way, if you're taking the Sanyo Kyushu all the way down to Hakata, it will board from platforms 14 to 19. So if you know this already, you are already halfway there, okay? And if you are taking, oh, this is the locations of them, by the way. So this area is so huge, okay? So once you enter here, as soon as you see one of these gates, you can go ahead and enter, okay? But the problem is once you enter into the Shinkansen gates, it's still massive. So depending on which car you are, you might have to walk another 5-10 minutes to this side or to this side. So again, that's why we want you to arrive early as possible. If you are taking the Tohoku or the Hokuriku Shinkansen, which is east, heading up north and east, then you would board on platforms 20 to 23. And this is always, 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 okay? So just try to keep these in mind. If you are heading south to Kyoto, Osaka, you're gonna be boarding on platforms 14 through 19. If you're heading east and to the Hokuriku regions, it's 20 to 23. Only those. All right, now here's a pro tip. If you are heading south on the Tokaido Shinkansen line and you plan to travel non-reserved, board at Tokyo Station, not Shinagawa. And the reason why is because Tokyo Station, it is the first station on the Tokaido Sanyo Kyushu Shinkansen line. And because of that, it's going to be empty. So get there, get in line, at your platform. So you want to be ready, waiting at your platform again, because the Shinkansen is not going to wait for you. So get there early and then get on, and you'll have plenty of seats to choose from.
So again, this tip is if you're riding non-reserved and you're trying to get a seat. If you're riding reserved, then it doesn't matter so much because you're guaranteed your seat.
That's correct. Thank you for sharing that. That's very important to know too. What if I miss my Shinkansen train? You can ride on the same train. You can ride on any train, such as the next train, on the same service on the same day. However, even if you purchased a reserve ticket, you have to ride non-reserved. So no matter what, if you miss your train, you have to ride non-reserved. If you purchased a reserved seat and you want to still ride in reserved, then you're going to have to buy another ticket.
Are there food and beverages services available on the Shinkansen trains? Don't expect it. This is being phased out. So especially if you're riding in ordinary class, do not expect to be able to buy food or drinks on the train. There are some trains that have drink vending machines, but not all of them. I don't believe I've seen those really on the Tokaido, so don't expect it if you're in ordinary class. Now, if you're in green class, there may be food available to purchase. If you're riding in grand class, then the price of your ticket does include food and beverages that will be served to you on the train. Instead, what we recommend if you're riding in ordinary is to bring your own food with you on board the Shinkansen. It's perfectly okay to eat on board. There's a tray table that you can use, and you can buy an ekiben at the train station, which is like a special train station bento box, or you can go to one of the many convenience stores inside the station and get snacks and drinks. So this is one reason that our family always allows extra time. We all use the bathroom before boarding the train, even though there is a toilet on the train, and then we buy all the food and drinks that we want to be able to enjoy on the train. Sometimes there are even stalls on the actual platform to purchase ekiben, but you'll have more choices if you do it sooner. So once you enter like that Shinkansen portion of the train station, there should be options there.
So what amenities are available on the Shinkansen trains? And this is pretty much standard. You will always find very clean toilets. Some have handicap accessible toilets, and some have priority seating for those with disabilities, for pregnant women and elderly. If you do need priority seating, I recommend you contact the JR service that you will be using, and they will be able to make sure that they get you on the correct train that has that. Because again, not every single train is going to have it, but some Some train during that day will, and they will be able to help you with that. And most have free Wi-Fi and power outlets. In fact, I can't recall a Shinkansen not having this. However, if you are riding ordinary class, not every single seat will have a power outlet. As you can see, this one here is on the wall. Sometimes they're on the seats. And if you are riding a green class, though, they will always, every seat will have its own power outlet. And also, JR East introduced train desk cars. So if you're working or you want to study or you just want a quiet space, you can choose to ride in a train desk car. It doesn't, actually it might cost a tiny bit more. However, there's nothing different about the way the train looks or anything. It looks exactly the same as any ordinary class train. The only difference is you're supposed to be quiet in there.
What if I need more help planning my Japan trip? Then please subscribe to Kensho Quest, and we've made some specific videos that can help you out, such as we have a video on how to plan a Japan trip that really breaks it down step by step. Also, we did make an earlier video that's a beginner's guide to Shinkansen trains, which has slightly different information than we shared today. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the chat box and answer some of your questions. Can you make that a bit bigger? We'll go back up to the beginning here. Okay. So the very first question that I saw come in, can you scroll way back up?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So the very first Shinkansen related question, going to Osaka to Hakone looks like 2 Shinkansen trains. Would you buy the tickets on Agoda or SmartEX? Will have a virtual IC card on my phone. This is interesting. We hadn't realized that Agoda offers Shinkansen tickets. The platforms that we usually recommend for booking are either on Klook or on SmartEX. And if you would like to buy your Shinkansen ticket on SmartEX and then link it to your digital IC card, we do have a video all about purchasing on SmartEX. And in that video description, I have some details of how you can figure out your virtual IC card number, because you will need to know the number associated with your IC card in order to link your Shinkansen ticket to your card. And if you have a physical card, it actually says the number on it. If you have a digital card, it's a little bit more complicated to figure out your card number. But SmartEX, link it to your digital IC card is a good option. Okay. The next one, are you going to switch to next?
Having problems with this.
This question is from Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia. We plan to go to Hiroshima from Kyoto as a day trip. Is there a regional JR pass that includes Tokyo, Kyoto, and Hiroshima? So for all 3 of those, no, there is not a regional pass. You would be in the territory of a whole Japan Rail pass, but that's probably not what you need to do. Instead, when you're traveling from Tokyo to Kyoto, I would just buy a single journey Shinkansen ticket. And then once you're in that Kyoto to Hiroshima area, there's a regional pass. What did you say it's called?
The Kansai Hiroshima Wide Area Pass, something like that. We'll link to it in the description.
We can add that later. So for the Kyoto to Hiroshima portion, you could use a regional pass. We do have a video about how to travel Japan by train without a JR pass. And in that, we talk a lot about how you can couple one single journey ticket along with a regional pass once you get to the particular area that you want to explore more. Okay, and bring up another one.
Which one?
Okay, that one. Thanks for doing this Q&A. You're welcome. What do the gates with the QR code readers look like? I don't want to slow down the lines when I'm Tokyo Station. Okay, so the very first thing you're going to look for is a big sign overhead that says Shinkansen tracks. So you'll know that this is a Shinkansen gate. And then the QR code ones,
So either it'll be on the ground, it'll say QR code, there'll be like a colored
big
painted
blue or
pathway,
white
yeah,
markings.
and it'll say QR code on it. If you don't see that, once you get right up to the gate, right on the gate itself, it's going to say QR code on it. So there's different ones. You have ones where you can insert the tickets, you have other ones for IC cards, and then you have QR code ones. So there's going to be 3 different ones that you can choose from.
Whether inserting a paper ticket, tapping an IC card, or scanning a QR code. Just look on the actual physical gate itself.
And there's a high chance that there's only going to be one for the QR code because it's a newer system.
Again, anybody who wants more information about that, we have a couple videos. One explains how if you buy on Klook, you now can use the QR code system, and then Smartex also, you'll be given a QR code instead of a paper ticket.
Okay, this next question is from Kathy.
How risky is it to buy high-speed train ticket same day for Hokuriku Arch destination this time of year? Right now it's October. It's not particularly a busy time. One thing to keep in mind is that on the Hokuriku, some of those trains are reserved only, so there's no option to just jump on a non-reserved.
Which means that it is possible you won't have a seat unless you're willing to wait for the next train that is not reserved only.
Oh.
Because,
sorry, can you clarify that?
Yeah, so there's 3 different services on the Hokuriku. There is the I'm drawing a blank right now. Anyways, the Kagayaki is 100% reserved only. There's the Asama, and there's one more. I just can't think of the name right now. But there's 3 different ones. Kagayaki 100% reserved only. So if that is full, you can just ask the attendant, can I get on a non-reserved train, and they'll tell you when the next one is available. And that's only if it is full.
And I'm thinking both this time of year, it's not springtime or anything, and then also the Hokuriku area is not as crowded as the Tokaido. You're probably okay buying it same day. I personally always like to buy my tickets at least the day before, so I know I'm getting on a particular time train the next day.
Okay, this is a question from Jackie.
Hi, I love your channel. Thank you. Is Suica card works on JR Express line from Narita International Airport to Tokyo Station? So the Narita Express, the next is a limited express train, and limited express trains, you don't pay just with an IC card. You need to actually purchase the limited express surcharge.
Yes, you for this one, I would just go to the machine or go to the counter and buy the ticket. It can get really complicated otherwise because it requires a surcharge.
So when you arrive, just buy it then. Don't worry about trying to pre-book it if you don't know exactly what time your flight is going to arrive. It's fine just to buy your ticket at the machine once you're there.
Yeah, the only time you need to worry about this is if you're arriving super late and you're trying to catch the last train. If you're trying to catch the last train, then you might want to buy this in advance.
And for anybody who has questions specifically about limited express trains, I did make a video on that topic. I find them to be the most confusing trains in Japan. They're basically one step down from a Shinkansen, and they often feel and look like riding a Shinkansen, but you don't just pay by IC card for a limited express train.
And here's just a comment from Sam about he used the QR codes. Thank you, Sam, for providing this information as well, is that he was able to see the QR code right at the gate. So it should be pretty visible. And if you don't see it, you can always ask the attendant.
So again, QR codes have now been implemented for tickets purchased on Klook, and then also tickets purchased on Smartex. You'll just have a QR code on your phone or print it out. Can you continue, and
Yes.
I'll be right back.
This one's from Karu. Yeah, they're building a maglev, which is going to be super awesome. However, it has been delayed indefinitely, I think, and this is because the mayor of Shizuoka has been holding everything up and not giving them access to build the line yet. So it was supposed to be active in 2027. Now we're looking at 2030. So hopefully it'll be sooner, but yeah, it's going to be super awesome when this is built. And the first line is going to be from Tokyo to Nagoya and eventually to Kyoto and Osaka. All right. This next one is from G. Hi, will it be a hassle to bring a large suitcase like a 30-inch one on the Shinkansen? Should I opt for a smaller size to avoid trouble of reserving luggage space? Personally, I would say yes. If you can avoid bringing a 30-inch luggage on the Shinkansen, I would do it 100% for a couple of reasons. First of all, you absolutely are going to have to reserve a luggage space for it. And if you're not able to do that, you're going to have to wait for a train that has that space. And a luggage piece that size, you're never going to want to put that in the luggage rack above, even if you think it's going to fit up there, because the Shinkansen sometimes swerves a little bit, and that can just come flying down and land on somebody. So that would not be good. So if possible, definitely get a smaller one if you can. If not, then you're going to have to just reserve the seat. And again, this is only if you are going on the Tokaido, Sanyo, Kyushu Shinkansen lines. If you're heading north or using JR East, then what you're going to have to do is just use the available luggage racks. And from Cynthia, if you have a JR pass, can you buy an upgrade to the Nozomi, or does it require a completely different ticket? Okay, so we already answered this question. Yes, you can. You can buy the upgrade. There are a couple of different places you can do it. One was through that website there. You can also do it from the JR ticketing office, and you might even be able to do it from the ticketing machine. I haven't checked that yet. So would the 25-inch medium suitcase need oversized luggage seat? I don't think so, but what you want to do is you want to measure the 3 dimensions, which is the length plus width plus depth. Measure those, and if they come up to more than 160 centimeters or 161 centimeters or more, then you do need to reserve that extra space. Okay, from Kato, I couldn't see Mount Fuji as it was too cloudy that day, but my Shinkansen ride was great nonetheless. Yes, it's true. Mount Fuji, I would say most of the time is not visible, and that is just very unfortunate. It's just hidden behind the clouds. So again, if you really want to see Mount Fuji, then you want to come in the wintertime. That is the most ideal time to see it, is a lot of the skies are clear then. But otherwise, it's I would say hit or miss the rest of the year.
Yeah, we visited in the springtime, and one day it was completely obscured. You could not see it at all. And then the next day we got a clear blue sky day, which was really nice. Yeah. The fall might also have some.
Yeah. I mean, and it can just be hit or miss. Like we stayed in the Fuji area for 10 days in the summer of 2023, and we didn't see it a single day. So we stayed there that long just to see Mount Fuji, and we didn't see it a single time. So it's a hit or miss, unfortunately.
We have a couple videos if you want to spend a few days in the Mount Fuji area, because if you plan a trip to spend like 2 or 3 days in that Kawaguchiko 5 Lakes area, you have a better chance at getting a clear day. And if you just go for a day trip, it might be cloudy.
Yeah. But it's still, I agree that it's still a very nice ride nonetheless. So regarding the luggage, do they weigh it? They do not. So just don't act like you have a super duper heavy luggage if you're going to be bringing one. But please try not to, because it is not going to be fun getting that on the train and getting it off. Because again, the train stops for a very short time. And there is a gap between the platform as well. So you're going to have to lift that up.
To get onto the train very quickly, because people need to get off the train and then other people need to get on the train, and all that happens within 1 minute's time. And then also, if you're planning to put your luggage in the overhead rack, you're going to have to lift it up there. Otherwise, somebody was saying they kept it at their feet and it didn't give them much room and was uncomfortable. Another point that I wanted to add in is, even if your luggage is not technically oversized, you still are allowed to reserve one of those oversized compartments or areas if you know, like, it's just too big for you to handle. If you have a large suitcase and you don't want to have to put it on the rack. But I mean, a little over, okay, so 30 kilograms, about 66 pounds. I mean, I just advise for Japan to pack as light as possible. And I have some videos on, how to pack light for Japan, because it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be enjoyable to be lugging around a heavy suitcase. If you're spending 45 minutes in the train station trying to find your platform, and you're looking for elevators, and then you're trying to get on the train, the lighter you can pack, the easier it will be for you. We also have multiple videos on our channel about using Yamato Transport, which is luggage delivery or forwarding service. So if you don't want to bring your actual suitcase onto the Shinkansen, you can go ahead and forward it to your next hotel where you're going to be after your Shinkansen ride, and then just bring something that's like a backpack, personal item type bag with you onto the train that has enough for you to get by for a day or two. So you don't actually have to even bring your suitcase onto the train. A lot of locals use Yamato Transport luggage forwarding, and then they don't have to deal with the suitcase on the Shinkansen. We also have a video that's a guide to traveling with luggage in Japan that goes over all of this.
Okay, this one's a little off topic from Johan. Do I need to book a bus to Shirakawago from Kanazawa? That is actually the easiest way if you are trying to get to Shirakawago. Kanazawa is a perfect place from it. You can book the bus is right from Kanazawa Station as well.
And another option is renting a car. That's what we did in the past. I think at that time there weren't as many buses set up for tourists, but now I've looked into it and there are buses that you can catch specifically from Kanazawa. Or you could rent a car if you want more flexibility. But there's no train that goes there.
From Noel.
Hi, good day. Any recommendations on having a good deal on taking Shinkansen from Tokyo to Nagoya and back on the same day?
I think your best bet would be to use the Smartex service, as they have a ticket called a Hayatu, but you need to book in advance. If you book in advance, like 21 days in advance, then sometimes they have some deals. We've actually used that for that exact same route, and we're able to get a deal. But it's not going to be a huge savings because that's not a super far distance.
So they're booking early, like either 21 days in advance or 28 days in advance.
Yeah.
There's
sometimes
discounts.
sometimes 28 they even have more, and sometimes they even have even less time. So you just have to pay attention to that.
So please watch our video for booking on Smartex.
From Vicky.
Is there a train pass for Tokyo for 7 days that's worth buying? There's some subway passes that are fewer days than that. For 7 days, I don't know of a pass, and within the Tokyo area, it's easiest just to use an IC card. Either get a digital one on your phone or get a plastic IC card.
Yeah. Otherwise, there is the Tokyo Metro pass. They have like I think either a 3 or 5 day pass that you can get, but that means you have to ride the Tokyo Metro only. You cannot ride any JR trains, and that can get kind of complicated. So we'll put some links on that in the description as well, so you can see and make up your mind.
The Metro is like a subway,
yes.
And then the JR trains are up on the ground level, and sometimes for your trip it's easiest to take a combination of both. So if you have one of those Metro passes, it won't cover both.
Correct.
Whereas an IC card, you can pay for pretty much any type of transportation. Okay, hi. On your limited express train video, I left a question regarding a surcharge when using Kintetsu Rail Pass. Okay, so I'm not familiar with that area at all. Do you know?
Where is it? So Kintetsu is in Nara is what I'm assuming. I left a question. We will we'll look into that because I need more details on that before I can answer that question.
Sorry, it's because I have no knowledge of that area, but we can try to research it. Okay, so I had a luggage that was just under the size that needed to go in the back row. However, it was too big on the top, so I put it in front of my seat. This was a regular train, very uncomfortable. So
now you know.
Like I said, on the Shinkansen, even if your bag's not technically oversized, you can choose to reserve the oversized area.
Yeah, but this was a regular train, so I don't know if you meant by a local train or what. Yes, yeah. it can be very uncomfortable because some of the trains have less space than others. Yeah, for sure.
And on local trains, there's not really room for luggage. So if you're taking both a Shinkansen and then you're taking a local train to get to your accommodation, you don't want to be getting on a local train during rush hour with a big suitcase because they can be really crowded, and try to keep your suitcase out of the way of other passengers.
From Whiskey Dave.
Thank you for all your wonderful videos. My wife and I are on the bullet train on our way to Nagano. Enjoy your ride.
Hopefully you're using the Wi-Fi or you got internet, which is nice, which is works pretty well on the trains in general.
Yeah, we have videos about pocket Wi-Fis, eSIMs, everything internet related. But some of them do have free Wi-Fi on the train, right?
Yes, yeah. In fact, I can't think of one that didn't have it.
Okay. Some people are talking about how early to get to the train station. Yeah, you don't want to be there super duper early. It depends on the station. Some stations do have waiting rooms with benches to sit in, and some have a certain area near where you can buy the bento boxes that you can sit down and eat, but other ones, there just isn't really a place to sit and wait. Maybe some small benches on the platform that might all be taken. So it's not quite the same as an airport that probably has more seating area if you're waiting. About whether the NaviTime app, somebody mentioned that the NaviTime app might have all the info like the platform. It's been a while since we used the NaviTime app. I'm not sure if it provides the specific platform number or not.
Yeah, we don't know. We kind of stopped using that app because it's just filled with ads now.
It's not always completely accurate.
That's true
either.
too.
It's a third-party app where it can tell you what's included with your regional pass or your JR pass. However, it's not always 100% accurate. If you're not sure what's included in your particular pass, it's better to ask at the train station. So can you go in the station just to check it out the day before, or do you get charged? And then somebody responded to this already saying that you will be charged if you enter Tokyo Station. Keep in mind that there's different ways to get into the station. So if you enter with an IC card, then maybe it does charge you a small amount to go in and out. I'm not really sure what that amount is, but you will not enter that Shinkansen area until you are actually going to get on your Shinkansen train. You would not want to pass through a Shinkansen ticket gate and ruin your ticket.
Yeah, but it's not a bad idea. Like if you want to go to Tokyo Station, if that's where you're departing from, and find out where the gates are to enter the Shinkansen, that's not a bad idea. In fact, that's what we've done in the past to find out where the stations are.
Yeah, I'm not sure if somebody responded. I mean, it could be like 200 yen or something if you tap in with your IC card, but it wouldn't be a big charge if you got in using an IC card. Is the train station convenience stores more expensive than the ones outside the station? I haven't noticed a difference.
Think so.
This is a nice thing in Japan is they don't tend to super duper raise the prices. I mean, even in amusement parks, the food and stuff isn't like outrageously expensive as it might be in the US, so I haven't noticed a difference. We always just buy our food and snacks right then. They usually have cold drinks and they also have like warm drinks as well, so if you buy it right before you get on the train, it's a little bit more fresh. Will there always be places at the smaller Shinkansen stations to purchase ekiben from? Planning to board from a smaller stop. If you tell us exactly what stop, yes, we may have familiarity, we might know. But most of them, even up north in Aomori, they have like a really nice gift shop with all the local foods, and so we've always been able to find.
In general, Shinkansen stations are not tiny because they just have to be bigger by design. So they're going to have more shops for sure, and there's always going to be something that, you know, it could be a good news or something, or a daily news, or a 7-Eleven if they don't actually have an actual bento box stand, but there will be something for sure. I can't recall ever being at a Shinkansen station and not being able to get some type of snacks. It might not be the best bento box, but there's always something because they know the tourists want them.
We got some really good apple cider. Yeah, in Aomori.
If you're heading up north, we highly recommend, you know, checking out the Aomori area because there's a lot of locally grown really good stuff.
And they expect you to buy and bring your food on the train. So they're prepared to sell it to you before you get on the train.
Alfred, where shall I buy the JR Pass from online?
If you want to purchase it online, there are some advantages if you purchase through the official website, which is japanrailpass.net. For example, if you buy it through that official site, then you can also reserve your seats ahead of time online. Another option is to pre-order up to 90 days in advance on Klook. However, if you go that route, they will send you an exchange order, you'll take it to Japan, get your actual pass, and not until you have your actual pass in hand will you be able to reserve your seats, either at the ticket office or the machine. So if you want the advantage of booking your seats ahead of time online, then the official website is japanrailpass.net. I believe I linked that below. Always check the description boxes of our videos because we do put a lot of time into trying to put the informational links and any of our links in there. So always look down below and see if you can find links.
RJ, would you buy your ticket on Agoda or Smartex? You know, that's actually news for us. We did not know that Agoda sold Shinkansen tickets. I would definitely go with Smartex. And the reason why is Smartex is an official JR site. So they're going to have a lot more functionality. The only problem is sometimes your credit card doesn't work. And so that's when you want to use a third party, like we use Klook.
Yeah, Klook's been improving to try to be more similar to Smartex, but on Smartex, you can choose your exact seat. So you can choose, I want to be in 5E, and you select that. Whereas if you use a third party like Klook, then you just can say, I want a Mount Fuji view, and they may or may not be able to give you that seat. So Smartex, you can really choose exactly what you want. To go to Osaka to Kyoto, do I have to ride Shinkansen or other train? So you have an option. There is Shinkansen between Osaka and Kyoto, but there are also local trains. So if you don't mind the journey taking us about half an hour on a local train?
Yeah, well, actually, I would just take the Thunderbird Express. It doesn't cost that much. It's half the price of taking the Shinkansen. It could take up to 30 minutes, yeah, because the Shinkansen's like between 12 and 15 minutes. I think the Thunderbird is, you know, like Heidi said, about up to 30 minutes. And there are local trains too, but that would take you, I think, an hour if you did that. So you definitely don't need to take Shinkansen. In fact, I don't even recommend it. Unless you had a pass to do it, I would just take either the local or the Thunderbird Express. From Haley, we just bought our JR Pass, and I'm wondering if there's a Shinkansen going to Hiroshima. Absolutely. It stops at Hiroshima Station. And once you are in Hiroshima, you can switch over to a local train to go to Miyajima, because I'm assuming you're probably going to want to go to Miyajima Island to go to see the Itsukushima Shrine, and that ferry ride is also included. So yes, the JR Pass covers pretty much, again, every single Shinkansen in Japan except the Mizuho and Nozomi. For those, you could still ride them, you just need to pay an extra fee.
I'm going to drop the official JR Pass website in the chat box.
All right. From Lucid Ice, we're going from Tokyo to Kyoto using the Shinkansen with 2 young kids and luggage. How do you have to get on board and off the train? Do we need to worry about trying to get on off?
Okay, so this is why you will be lining up before your departure time on the platform. People are very good about lining up in queues in Japan, so you will be there waiting for your train. The train stops very briefly, about 1 minute. People need to exit, get off the train, and then the line of people need to get on the train. So you be there ready. There is a bit of a gap between the platform and the train, so any young kids, definitely hold their hand and help them over the gap. I saw a little video recently of a kid actually fell between. So hold their hand, help your kid get on, and then, lift your suitcase that little bit to get it on the train. Just be prepared and ready, but, don't panic.
It's not as scary as it seems. And, when you're about to get off the train, a couple minutes prior, there's an announcement that's going to say Mamaнаку, and it's going to ding, 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 some bell is saying, start lining up for the gate. Absolutely do that. Get up, gather all your belongings, and go wait your turn. And don't worry, when you have little kids, people are very patient and will wait for you. So you take your time getting your kids safely off the train. What we usually do is we take our luggage out first, and then we take our kids off.
Or we have an arrangement, and this is why we travel with very few suitcases. Even though we're a family of 5, at most we would be bringing 2 suitcases onto the train, because there's all the holding kids' hands, helping them on, managing the suitcase. So try not to bring too much luggage with you if you need to also be helping your kids.
From Pirasak, can you print multiple tickets at a train station from the ticket machine? If this is for a Shinkansen, absolutely you can do that. If that's what if you are going to be printing tickets, as soon as you have access to your, whatever it was, a confirmation number or what have you, as long as you have that, you can go to any station that has these reserved ticketing machines. They're usually green, and you can do this anytime in advance.
And keep in mind that time frame is usually 1 month in advance. So you can normally buy your tickets from the machine or print out tickets that you bought online 1 month in advance. So if you want to do it a couple days before your train trip, we always do it ahead of time. We don't leave, collecting our tickets until the day of our train.
Yes, and you can absolutely print multiple ones at the machine. You can print all of your tickets at the machine. You can change them as many times as you want at the machine. It's a pretty good system. Just takes a little bit of time.
Especially if there's a line. Sometimes there's long lines for the ticket machines, other times there's no line at all. So it depends how crowded of a station and when you visit. Little neighbor, hey, I'm curious about if there are a lot of local lines like the Yamanote line in Tokyo that take JR Pass. I'm concerned I won't get my money's worth only going around Tokyo and Osaka for 2 weeks. If you're only visiting Tokyo and Osaka, just do not get a whole Japan Rail Pass. It is only worth it getting a JR Pass if you're taking a lot of Shinkansen train rides, because those are expensive. If you're just going around within Tokyo, the main JR line is the Yamanote line. A lot of the other lines are subways or metro lines, and those are not covered by the JR Pass. So it is not worth it for local transportation where you're paying about 200 yen for your train trip. Only get the JR Pass if you're going to be on a Shinkansen train like every day or every other day.
But if you are wondering about the local JR lines, there are many of them, other ones, such as the JR Chuo line. It's a very popular one in the Tokyo area as well. And in Osaka, they have the Osaka Loop line and some other lines as well. You just want to look for the JR symbol, and they're not going to be subways. They're going to be above ground trains. Then that's usually a giveaway right there. Not always, but that's usually part of the giveaway.
The way I like to summarize it is, for paying for local transportation, get an IC card. Paying for Shinkansen trains is where you may or may not want a JR Pass.
And by the way, IC cards are now readily available again, including the welcome suica. The regular suica is not. However, they have what is called a registered suica, which you can get by visiting a JR ticketing office. You will need to present your passport, as your name is going to be printed on. You have to fill out a little form. But you can get the welcome suica, or the Pasmo at both Narita and Haneda airports in Tokyo.
And there are advantages to having one of those registered IC cards, such as if you lost your card, you might still be able to access that balance. So getting a regular 10-year one is nice. You can reuse it on all your trips. Sandra says, we plan to go to
Hakuba from Narita. What is the best train to take and what is the earliest? So to get to Hakuba, I would take you're going to have to take a couple of trains. You would want to first take the Hokuriku Shinkansen is going to be the fastest, and you can either take it. So from Narita, you're going to have to go to Ueno Station. From Ueno, you can get on the Hokuriku Shinkansen, and from there you can go to Nagano Station. And from Nagano, you're going to have to change to probably the Shinano Express line. I'm not 100% sure to get to Hakuba, and then you're probably going to take a local train after that because Hakuba is not a direct shot. You know, it's like in between the mountains and farther up, but it sounds like an awesome time. You're probably going to go skiing is going to be my guess. But yeah, it's fastest way is take the Narita and get to Ueno Station in Tokyo, and then take the Hokuriku Shinkansen to Nagano Station, and from there you will probably take the Shinano Express and then a local train to, or even a bus to Hakuba, depending on where exactly you're going.
We always check Google Maps for those local train route portion of it.
All right.
Okay, can I purchase all my reserved tickets on Shinkansen from the JR office? Yes, you can. So the main drawback is there could be a long line of people waiting, but it's also a big advantage within the JR office. You can ask all your questions. They can tell you what the train times are. If you're not exactly sure where you're going or what you're doing, then doing it inside the JR office is a good idea. Come prepared with knowing what city you're going from and to, the approximate time of day you want to travel, already know whether you want to go non-reserved, reserved, or green car, and as long as you come with that information, you can maybe write it out on a piece of paper or have it listed out on your phone, and then you can give the attendant and they can help you to make all those reservations. And if at a later time you decide that you want to change one of your reservations, you can do that in the JR ticket office or use one of the ticket machines. But especially when you're just starting out, the office is the easiest way. For a long time, that's where we booked all of our tickets, because sometimes with the ticket machines, there can be a long line behind you and you can feel really pressured, and we've made mistakes, like booked the wrong train through the ticket machine. So if it's your first time, it's perfectly fine to actually go into the JR ticket office. You might want to do that like the day before your train ride in case it's an hour wait.
I just want to add to that though, if the JR ticketing office is really busy, like it's an hour-long wait, then they're not going to be inclined to help you print all your tickets, okay? So to help that along is like what Heidi said, is again, make sure, if you can, is to have a schedule of where you want to go and an approximate time. That'll make it so much faster.
Like which dates you're traveling, around what time.
Yes.
Starting city, ending city.
Right. Otherwise, they might say, sorry, it's so busy, we can only book one for you right now. But if you have everything listed out, there's a very good chance they're going to help you with everything.
And we do have lots of videos on how to book online if you want to go that route. That really shows step-by-step the process. What is the best Wi-Fi, Pocket, eSIM, etc. while in Disneyland? So we have lots of videos on Pocket Wi-Fi and eSIM. Do you have a specific recommendation for that area?
So
we had a specific like vacation rental near Disneyland that was a dead zone.
It was a dead zone.
Didn't get internet there.
However, once we were in Disneyland, I tried 3 different services while we were there in Disneyland, and they all worked. And that was mobile, Sakura Mobile, and Japan Wireless. Those 3 did work in Disneyland. However, outside of Disneyland, we did have some issues with all of them, actually. As there were just some dead zones, some type of interference. I'm not exactly sure what caused that. Yeah, we have a bunch of videos on that. In fact, I'm going to be making another one because also currently right now, this is kind of a tangent, but it's kind of important. If you're going to Japan anytime soon right now, SoftBank, which is one of the major carriers in Japan, they just decided they were going to shut off 3G completely. So if your phone is only 3G capable, or if you are going to use a SoftBank network in a 3G area, well, you wouldn't be in a 3G area only because they shut it off. But if your phone is 3G only, it's not going to work no matter which service you get. So please take that into consideration. You need to have, if you're going to use SoftBank and you have a 3G only phone, the best thing is to choose a different, make sure it's not SoftBank. You want to use like Docomo or KDDI. So those would be the other two carriers, Docomo or KDDI, if you have a phone that is 3G only.
I'm going to drop a link for Japan Wireless in the chat box. So overall, Japan Wireless is our top recommendation when you're looking for pocket Wi-Fi or eSIM. If you have more specific needs, then we have videos that go into more details.
And we have a super chat from Stan. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you.
Oops.
Where do we go? Sorry.
Going to Tokyo for the first time next month for our honeymoon. Fantastic. It's such a great place, I think, for a honeymoon. Anyways, can you recommend a must-do activity? We're staying in Roppongi. Love your channel. That is a really tough question. We need a little more information. What do you want to do? So in the Roppongi area, they have really good museums. So I would definitely check out the National Museum that is in the Roppongi area. And also, really nearby Roppongi is Azabudai Hills, which is a brand new shopping area, and they have Team Labs Borderless, which is underground there. Definitely check that out too. You want to reserve your tickets at least a day in advance to make sure that you can go.
Or you might want to do some kind of onsen experience. There's ones you can do in Tokyo, or you could take a side trip to somewhere like Hakone if you want to stay in a ryokan with an onsen there.
I think for a honeymoon couple, definitely go to an onsen if you can. We'll link to a couple of videos that we have for onsens in the Hakone area. They're just better in that area because because of all the natural hot spring activity going on in the Fuji area. There's just tons of hot springs out there, and it's just a magnificent experience in it, especially being out in nature and stuff. So we'll link to more information on that.
There's also day spa onsens within Tokyo if you don't want to go too far.
Yeah. So Stan, drop us some more questions in the comments, and we'll get to them after the call.
To go to Osaka from Kyoto, I have to ride Shinkansen or any other train options. Well, Shinkansen is going to get you there fast in about 2 hours. It may be possible to ride local trains.
So there is, I want to call it the Setochi or something like that line. I can't think of it. Anyways, there is a local train that you can take. It costs, I think, like 10,000 yen, which is like $70, and I think it's valid for like a week or something like that. And you can take that. It's a slow train, but you can certainly take that. I will link to it in the description. I can't recall the exact name of that, but that is certainly the slow train option. Otherwise, they're really
actually, I read that wrong. No? Sorry. I read that. Okay, it actually says Osaka from Kyoto. I read it as Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Completely.
So between Osaka and Kyoto, you can either take a Shinkansen or a local train.
Yes.
Osaka to Kyoto is only about half an hour.
Yeah. But again, we answered this question earlier. I would recommend taking the Thunderbird Express.
Sorry. Kyoto and Tokyo are so similar.
Okay.
Again, somebody about the luggage. Yeah, if your luggage is really close to oversized, it's probably not going to fit in the overhead rack. So if your luggage is just under the 160, it's not going to fit up top. Yeah, I recommend either carry-on size suitcases, so like 21 to 22 inches, or medium-sized suitcases, so around 25 to 26 inches. Those fit well in the overhead rack. If you have a large suitcase, so like a 28-inch, a 30-inch, you're probably not going to get it in the overhead rack. And that's going to take up a lot of space at your feet. There's more space at your feet in the ordinary car. If you're in green class, they have a footrest, so there's even less place to put it. So yeah, even if your bag is not technically oversized, you can reserve the oversized luggage area.
Yeah, I just want to add to that is anything larger than a medium size, please don't put it. Don't even attempt to put it up there.
Especially if it's heavy. I mean, it could fall on people.
Yeah,
on an airplane, there's like a door that closes for the luggage compartment. There is not on a Shinkansen. It could just topple right off of there.
Yeah, a lot of times when it goes through tunnels and stuff, the train will shake a little bit, and it could fall.
I have a video that's a guide to traveling with luggage in Japan that goes into things like that, like what size luggage to bring.
And here's just an example from Holly about the Smartex did not accept MasterCard. This does happen. So this is when we tell people if you're having issues, try your different cards. It's interesting. Thanks for sharing this, because usually MasterCard is one that actually works pretty well. is sometimes with Japan websites, it just doesn't work at all. And this is when we tell people to use Klook, because Klook just seems to always work.
Yeah, a lot of times, whether you're trying to buy attraction tickets or just anything on a Japanese website, they often don't accept foreign credit cards because our credit cards aren't set up with the proper security layers there. So if you're not able to book directly on a Japanese website, Klook, you can book all sorts of things on there.
Okay, we have another person, Sandra, going to Hakuba again. So definitely for ski season, if you're bringing 3 30-kilo pieces of luggage, I would ship it. It's just, I would not take that on the train. There may not be any space on the Hokuriku Shinkansen, because then you're going to have to take, you know, like I mentioned earlier, probably a local train and the Shinano Express, and those trains can be so crowded. They could be standing room only. And if you have luggage like that,
for like 2 hours.
Like 2 hours straight. On actually that exact Shinano Express, I stood for like 2 hours because it was so crowded on that train.
So we have a couple videos on luggage forwarding or luggage delivery service. So what you would do is before you head out on that train trip, either from the airport or from your hotel, you would go ahead and ship those suitcases and they would go straight to your hotel, your accommodation. And also you can ship ahead skis. So if you are going skiing, snowboarding, you can use Yamato Transport to send those ahead as well. So when we pack, we always keep this in mind that I pack either a carry-on suitcase or backpacks with things like toiletries and a couple days worth of clothes to keep with us on the Shinkansen train, and then pack additional stuff that we don't need for a couple days into our bigger suitcases if we're planning to forward those suitcases. I heard IC cards work in taxis, convenience stores. How do you want some vending machines? Yes, there are some taxis, not all, that could accept payment by IC card. I think most convenience stores, places like Lawson or 7-Eleven, accept payment by IC card, and some vending machines. So some vending machines will take coins, some will take IC card. Same with lockers. Some luggage lockers will take 100 yen coins, whereas some will accept payment by IC cards.
If you're at a station, pretty much not all, but most of the vending machines will take IC cards. Same with the lockers too, but not all.
Yeah, so it's really convenient to have an IC card. And if you have a digital one on an Apple iPhone, then you can just use a credit card in Apple Wallet if it's a credit card that works. If you find one that works, to recharge that balance on your IC card.
Jackie, does Uber work well in Tokyo? Can I order Uber from Narita? So Uber does work in Tokyo. It doesn't cover the entire area. As far as ordering it from Narita, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but I don't know 100% sure. We personally use Go Taxi over Uber, but
I want to step here and say too, there isn't really a need to use either Uber or Go Taxi if you're coming from the airport. There's designated like taxi queues and you can just go and get a taxi. Somebody commented on one of our videos that they use like Go Taxi from the airport, and where they had to get picked up was a totally different location at the airport than where just the airport taxi queue was. So if you're coming from the airport, it's not really necessary to use an app. If you're returning to the airport, then you might want to use something like, for instance, on the Go app, you can pre-schedule your taxi back to the airport, right?
Right, exactly. If you're concerned about a language barrier, what I would do is just have it already on your phone and have it written in Japanese of where you're going, and just show that to the taxi driver, and then they'll know where to go.
And a difference in the United States, things like Uber are really rideshare, where it can be any person driving a car, whereas in Japan, even if you use something like Uber, it's most likely an actual taxi that comes to pick you up. So it's not so much different than just taking a taxi. People ask us about taxis. It would be expensive to take a taxi from Narita into Tokyo, but for shorter distances, we take taxis quite often these days. Is it easier to go around in Kyoto by Go Taxi instead of bus?
For sure. It's going to cost you more, but absolutely. Absolutely.
It's been a while since we've traveled a whole lot in that area, so the next time that I am in Kyoto, I will make a video about taking the buses there. I find buses can be a little bit more complicated than riding trains, because if you're using Google Maps will tell you what platform to board your train, but if you're trying to catch a bus, you need to make sure you're on the correct side of the road to catch that bus. If you're standing on one side of the road and your bus comes on the other side of the road, it can just be a little bit more complicated. So next time in the spring when we're down there in that Kyoto area, I will try to make some videos about riding public transportation and buses. So Naomi, do you get much warning to get your luggage down and be ready to get off before you arrive at your destination? Thanks for the awesome channel. Yes, so George mentioned before there's a little warning that goes, Mamanaku, arriving soon, and when it makes an announcement that says we'll be arriving soon at such and such station, that is timed so that that is your indication to get down your luggage. If you need to throw away trash, there are trash cans on Shinkansen trains. There are not so commonly just out on the sidewalks in Japan, so take advantage of throwing away all your trash, putting back your tray table, leaving your spot nice and clean for the next person that's going to sit there. And when you get that little Mamanaku warning, you get everything ready, there will be a line forming at the door to get off the train. Don't be in the bathroom right when that announcement goes.
Yeah. I mean, just start paying attention a little bit beforehand. You'll know where you are.
They're really good about announcements, and they're in English as well on the trains. So I'm heading. Oh, it's for you.
To Kinosaki Onsen from Kyoto, and then from Kinosaki Onsen to Osaka. Should I pre-purchase a Shinkansen ticket? Or do I pay online? I don't think it's necessary to pre-purchase for where you're going. You can just certainly do that either, a day before or even on the spot. And the easiest way, again, when you purchase online for something like this, I would just purchase it from Klook. It's the easiest way to do it for something like this. Or if you have a Smartex account, you can try that as well.
But purchasing at the ticket machine at the station is fine too.
Yes, you can certainly purchase at the ticket machine as well. For where you're going, it shouldn't be too bad. Unless, you're going to like Golden Week or something like that. I wouldn't worry about it, which is the last week of April to the first week of May.
How far in advance can anyone buy tickets? So the general time frame of like when your seat can be issued and everything is 1 month in advance. However, places like Klook allow pre-order. Klook allows 90 days in advance. Other websites might allow even more in advance, but you won't have an actual seat number until you're within that 1 month window. The JR companies work with a 1 month window for buying train tickets. How is traveling from Osaka to Tokyo on December 26th? So that is a time of year where it's getting towards New Year's where you probably want to book in advance. But again, are you already within the 90-day window? You might be able to pre-order. Yeah, you're already within 90 days to pre-order.
You are, but if you want to get a reserved seat, you're not going to know what your reservation is until you're within the 30-day window.
So if you pre-order on Klook, you can say, I want a reserved seat. And then once it comes within that 30-day window, they'll assign you your reserved seat number. And then you'll know what seat you're in.
Yeah. And you're just like at the start of the holidays, so it's going to get busier towards New Year's Day. So since the 26th, it's not going to be nearly as bad as like the 29th and 30th.
And we traveled
like on the 28th, 29th, 30th, and the 1st, and it was not bad.
But we were going the opposite direction. So
which you are too. You're going the opposite direction.
So the locals are tending to leave Tokyo and go home outside of Tokyo. So it's more like exiting Tokyo that would be busy, whereas we went like right close to New Year's towards Tokyo, and it wasn't so crowded on the trains. So for you as well, it might not be too crowded. Although there's so many tourists going to Japan these days, I would expect crowds, massive crowds, and long lines. Somebody says, thank you, you're welcome.
A lot of good answers in here, so thank you everyone for answering a lot of the questions for us. It makes it a little bit easier.
A lot of people chimed in that the train will let you know when you're getting close, so just listen to that to get ready. You would not want to wait until your train stopped at your station to get your luggage down. You could definitely miss getting off your train. I timed it once because he got off the train and it was 59 seconds that the train stopped.
and just in case, if you did miss your train, what you could do is you could get off at the next station, get back on the other side, and go back. Okay, then you're not going to be charged. Just don't exit the Shinkansen.
I think you probably just confused people.
Did I just confuse you?
They
okay.
Probably don't know what you're talking about.
Let's say you were supposed to get off at Kyoto Station, but you missed it and you stayed on the train. So don't worry, go all the way to Osaka Station, which is the next station. Get off the train, but do not exit the Shinkansen gate. Instead, go under the platform or whatever it requires to get back on the other side, wait for the next train, and go back. And you will not be charged.
Is that if you got on the wrong train?
Not if you got on the wrong train.
Because
If you forgot to get off the train. If you did not have enough time to get off the train.
If you missed getting off.
Yes.
Okay. So this says, for sightseeing trains, can I also book and collect them at the Shinkansen ticket machines? So first, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by sightseeing train, but there are two types of trains that you can book from the reserved seat ticketing machines. It tends to be Shinkansen trains and then limited express trains, which is one step down from a Shinkansen train, and then sometimes there are dedicated ticket machines for limited express trains. There are separate ticket machines for local trains. So if you're just going a short distance within a city, you would use the local machine. So
Yes.
if you're going like within Tokyo somewhere. Sightseeing train, I need more specific of what particular sightseeing train you're referring to.
Some of them, it is possible. Even though the Shinkansen machines say Shinkansen, sometimes they do sell other tickets, but it really depends.
There's a lot of types of trains in Japan. There's some specialty trains or joyful trains, which you tend to be able to book in advance.
Yes.
Because those can fill up.
From Shumai, booked our Japan trip for the first time in May 19th to 30th. We are looking to get a private transfer from NRT to Tobu Hotel. Is it easy to access JR trains? Wheelchair accessible?
So first I asked about private transfer.
Private transfer, not a problem. There are a lot of options out there. We have a lot of videos on that, but we could link a couple of those as well in the description to a couple of that we recommend. And is it easy to access JR trains? Wheelchair accessible? In general, yes. What you want to do is, if you have somebody in a wheelchair, is you roll up to, when you get to the gate, is go to where the person is in the booth. There's always going to be somebody in a booth, unless you're at the tiniest of tiniest stations. Go there, they're going to recognize you, and they're going to tell you to wait a minute, and they're going to get somebody, they're going to get on the phone, call somebody, and tell them to be ready for you to get on a train. So what they're going to do is choose the train for you, because they need some time to get out there. They're going to get something, they're going to set it up so the wheelchair can get on the train. But it's not a problem. It's actually quite professional service, and we've been very impressed because we've actually had to use it.
Yeah, so they bring a little ramp to the train, and then they also need to know which station you'll be getting off at, because there will be another attendant at the station that you're arriving at who will also have a ramp to help, because there's a gap between the train and the platform, so they need that ramp to be able to wheel the wheelchair on. And I just put a link in the chat box for an airport private transfer on Klook, so that's an affiliate link if you're interested in getting the private transfer from Narita into Tokyo, which is a very convenient way to go.
All right, from D Little, transport Kariya to Kanazawa, the schedule I looked up. I will be coming from Kariya. It gives me 5 minutes to get to the platform to the other train. Is that enough time? So, at Nagoya Station, So, am I understanding this right? You're going to Kanazawa. Okay, it gives me 5 minutes to get to the platform. Usually that is enough time. It depends on how big the station is, but Nagoya Station is not a huge station. The only time you would miss this train is if you are transferring from a local station to a Shinkansen station, and it depends on how far they are apart. So what I would do is I would look at the map and see where you're going to get off the train, the first train, to Nagoya Station, because you're going to have to transfer from the train that you're taking from Kariya at Nagoya Station. Look, I would use Google Maps and see, how long is it going to take to walk from here to there, and then I would give yourself a couple more extra minutes from that, because Google Maps is usually wrong with that.
Google Maps thinks you know where you're going and you can walk really fast. Whereas if you're kind of a lost tourist and you don't know exactly where you're going, sometimes they expect I can go up an escalator or a flight of stairs in like 2 minutes and catch my train. So
yes. And also take into consideration how much luggage you have, because that will slow you down too. Because if you have luggage, you're going to need to take an elevator, and chances are you're going to have to wait, because there's usually a line to use the elevator.
And sometimes you have to go quite a bit out of your way in order to find an elevator. So if you have just like a carry-on size suitcase, you can usually take the escalator just fine. But if you have bigger suitcases and you have to go find an elevator, that takes a lot more time. Since my daughter now lives in Japan, can she still purchase a Northern Kyushu Regional Pass? I'm not super familiar with that one, but a lot of the regional JR passes are restricted to foreign tourists. So you can look on the details for that specific pass, but most of the JR regional ones, you have to be a temporary tourist, temporary visitor.
That means in her passport, she would need to have a temporary visitor stamp. If she does not have that, she will not be allowed, most likely not be allowed to get any type of pass.
So a lot of those passes are not for people who live in Japan. They're for tourists who are just visiting.
What are your recommendation train options from Hakata to Nagasaki and Hakata to Shimonoseki? We are not the most familiar of Kyushu. It's been actually years since we've been there. However, from Hakata to Nagasaki, you can partially take the Nagasaki Shinkansen, which is also the Nishi Kyushu Shinkansen, but part of it is also express train. So first from Hakata, you would take an express train to, I can't recall the name of the station, part way, and then the other half of the way, you can take the Shinkansen. And the whole travel time is about an hour and a half. To Shimonoseki, you're going to have to take maybe local trains. I'm not 100% sure. So I would put that into Google Maps to check.
On our next trip, we hope to make it down to the Kyushu area so we can make more content on that. Yeah, it's been a very, very long time. Says, my 2 teenage girls and I are going to Japan for the first time in December. We need to travel from Osaka to Tokyo on 25 December. Could you please advise if I should book the Shinkansen tickets now? You could. I mean, again, you're traveling against the direction of traffic. Most people will be leaving Tokyo to go home. So since you're going towards Tokyo, it might be okay. But December 25th...
It's not a holiday. They don't care.
It's close to New Year's. You could go either way. If you feel better, you could pre-order. Again, you won't know like your exact seat number. Or you could wait until you get within the 30-day, 1-month window.
Yeah, I think you're fine for December 25th.
Yeah. So it's mostly the Japanese who live in Tokyo will exit Tokyo and go away from Tokyo. So the trains leaving Tokyo will be really crowded. But that's still a little early.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one.
From Haley, what's so special with KFC on Christmas Day? They offer a Christmas meal. Sorry.
Yeah.
We don't eat there.
Yeah, we don't know.
Eggs and things sometimes has a special holiday meal as well. So like George just mentioned, December 25th is not a holiday in Japan, not officially. So if you are from the West and you want to be celebrating Christmas, you might be able to find a restaurant that offers a special Christmas meal to make it feel more festive for you.
But I wouldn't be surprised if KFC has something. McDonald's gets very festive regardless, and they always have special things around the holiday season, actually around all the different seasons they have. So if someone wants to chime in and knows the answer to that, that'd be great, because honestly, we don't know. Sorry.
Do you have to pay for train for 3-year-old? No. So for both on local trains and local buses and Shinkansen trains, a 3-year-old can ride for free with a paying adult, but that would be basically them sitting on your lap. If you're going to go on a Shinkansen train, if you want them to have their own reserved seat, you would need to buy them a child ticket. If you're going to go non-reserved, then you don't have to pay for them, and if they're going to sit on your lap, you don't have to pay. And what we do is not like sitting on the lap, is we will have 2 seats next to each other. So I'll sit in one seat, one of my bigger kids will sit in the other seat, and our little 3-year-old will sit in between us. So that's one reason that we like just the ordinary cars, is because there's kind of more room for a little kid to squish in between. Whereas if you went in the fancier green class, I think there's an armrest in between the seats. So in ordinary class, we just squish, like say me and 2 kids sharing 2 seats.
But again, if you're riding non-reserved on a Shinkansen, and if there's available seating, your child can take that seat for free.
And like on a bus, they can just take a seat as well. So do you have a favorite restaurant in Tokyo? My favorite is T's Kitchen gluten-free, because we eat gluten-free, and then I can eat all of the Japanese food that's normally made with gluten, like karaage chicken. But do you have a favorite?
I'm trying to think about that.
For reference, we travel with 3 young kids.
Yeah.
So we tend to either cook breakfast at our vacation rental or have breakfast included with our hotel. We eat our lunch from 7-Eleven or another convenience store. and we may go out to like one real restaurant a day.
Yeah.
Our kids have favorites. They really like the family diners, Gusto's, and what's the similar one?
Jonathan's.
Oh, and then Caesarea it's not fancy, but it is super cheap. You can get food for really expensive. So we just go to inexpensive family restaurants.
They're kind of like comfort food because they're kind of westernized with a lot of the meals in there. So, you know, and it's really easy to order. So if you're looking for something really easy, then we recommend places like that. The food's not the best.
Yeah, it's not fancy food.
But it's very economical and it's easy to order because they all have English menus and stuff like that. Otherwise, we choose sushi joints where we can find them. Stations are a really good place to find good options as well. Lots of varieties at
Tokyo
stations.
Station has tons of restaurants inside.
And sometimes, before we had kids, we would eat at the Michelin restaurants. So I would recommend you try some of those, or even the Bib Gourmands is go to the Michelin website for Japan, because, you know, Japan has the most in the world. So especially Tokyo, there's tons of them. And we've had some fantastic meals eating at Michelin. 1-star restaurants, too much for us, and almost impossible reservations. And 3 too. And also a lot of Bib Gourmands. So that is a good place where I would start. And also there is a good website app called Taberog. It's actually, if you look at the spelling, it would be table log. The app is not very good because it's in Japanese only. So most of the Japanese restaurant apps are actually all in Japanese and not in English. So the website versions usually do have English. Look up tablelog.com and it's actually really good.
Yeah, we don't make a ton of restaurant recommendations at this point since we have really young kids and they are not going to wait in a 1 hour to 2 hour line to eat at some fancy recommended restaurant. Eventually, we'll be able to go to nicer places. Will this live chat be saved? Yes, it will all be on our Kensho Quest channel. We just got back from 3 weeks in Japan. Look forward to returning. Awesome. We've been hearing that from a lot of people that they liked their first trip to Japan so much that they're planning to go back. Same with us. We try to go at least once a year. This might have been the one that was referring to sightseeing trains. Do you want to put that on? I think this is a follow-up for somebody who asked about sightseeing trains. It says, I was referring to trains like Asoboy in Kyushu area.
Yeah, that is like a specialty train.
So specialty trains you usually can reserve a month in advance. We rode like the Pokemon train and that, you had to be on the ball and get your tickets right away or it would sell out. Holly says we're planning to travel on a Saturday in November from Tokyo to Kyoto on the Shinkansen. If I buy tickets when I get to Tokyo Station on the day of travel, it's likely it will sell out. November, but a Saturday could be more busy since it's the weekend.
It'll be busier, but again, there's hundreds.
I think he said there's 200 trains a day, so if you don't get the exact time.
And that's in each direction. So,
choose a train 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
So you can probably buy it the day of.
And if
I personally like to buy the day before just to make sure I get the specific train time I want. If you show up, the specific time slot might not be available.
So if you're flexible with your time, I don't think it's going to be an issue. And especially if you're going to ride non-reserve, I don't think it'll be an issue.
November is a really nice time in Japan. It's actually one of my favorite times of the year to go in the fall, but it's not as crowded as like the springtime.
Lazy Husband says, which are the busiest months for Shinkansen?
Okay, so we went over this before about there's Golden Week.
Golden Week for sure.
End of April, beginning of May, because they have like 3 holidays back to back, and so the kids have off school and Japanese people are traveling.
Plus Sakura, sorry. Because it's cherry blossom season.
There's tons of tourists too.
Crazy
crowd. So everybody's traveling.
Yes, it's everybody's. In our experience, that has been the most crowded time by far. Even more crowded than New Year's, because a lot of people say New Year's is really crowded, but in our experience, by far it's been a cherry blossom season.
Yeah. And then Oban is mid-August. New Year's again as well.
And also just try to avoid, and this is any time of year, try to avoid riding during rush hour, which is between the hours of 7 and 9 a.m. and between 5 and 7 p.m. It can get really crowded. We've had to stand on the Shinkansen, surprisingly, during the weekday during that time.
Yeah, so you don't want to ride in a non-reserved car at a rush hour time because people who are commuting will be in those non-reserved cars. And it's not fun to be standing room only if you have a long train ride. I just got here. Are there any stations I should reserve, research, get to super early to avoid travel problems? I will be at Shinjuku Station. Shinjuku Station is like the crowdedest, busiest. It's a complicated station. So if you have time to visit the station like a day or two in advance just to get your bearings and find where things are, you can do that. I mean, you can eat a meal in a station. You can go shopping in a station. So if you want to go there just to check it out, see what the layout is.
Especially Shinjuku. It's massive. It's like there's a section over here, and then you go across the street, and there's a section under here. It's connected underground. It's just so big. So what I would try to find out is what train are you going to ride from Shinjuku, and find where that is.
Or bus. You know, a lot of tour buses depart from Shinjuku, and then a lot of trains, if you're leaving Tokyo and going on a day trip out of the area, also depart. So there's usually like north, south, east, west gate entrances to a train station. So figure out where it is that you're supposed to be getting on your train or your bus, and then make sure you go like to that gate that's closest.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely research ahead of time, you know, especially Shinjuku. Even my friends, you know, the Japanese locals, they cringe if they have to go there. So yeah.
We'll be like, we're following you, and they'll be like, what? I'm following you.
Right,
like
yeah.
They don't know their way around either.
So Shinjuku, Tokyo Station, Shibuya, and Ikebukuro, those are the 4 biggest stations in the Tokyo area. If you're in that area and you're going to be going to those stations, you might want to check them out. If you're going to be riding the Shinkansen, you know, like we mentioned before, you know.
Well, that's not from Shinjuku.
Right, it wouldn't be from Shinjuku. Then check out the check out the Shinkansen stations. If you are in Osaka, there's only one Shinkansen station. That is Shin Osaka Station, Kyoto's Kyoto Station. I would definitely check those out ahead of time too. Just
either if you have time ahead of time, or if you're so busy, then just get there early.
Right.
You know, get there an hour and a half early and make sure, because you would be surprised how long you can be walking and still be in the same train station. You know, you're walking a half an hour to find the right area of the train station, and then you finally find your platform, and then on your platform, like say for a Shinkansen train, you could be walking another 15-20 minutes on the platform to get to the right spot where your train car is going to be. So you can always give yourself plenty of time, either going to Shinjuku to take a side trip from Tokyo or going to a major Shinkansen train station. Those both can be busy and complicated. I think it's really funny. Sometimes he makes videos about where things are located in places like Tokyo Station, and then we go and we try to find it, and you know what we do? We go to the information desk and ask for directions. And I'm like, you've made a video about where this is located.
Don't be giving that away.
So, you know, even if we've like studied it ahead of time, it can still be really complicated.
Sometimes, like, because you might enter at a different gate, and all of a sudden it just looks different. So, yeah.
So you can always ask. Want to go to the Kurobe Gorge Railway? Would you suggest reserving or okay to purchase on the day?
So this is interesting. We highly recommend the Kurobe Gorge and taking the Kurobe Railway. However, the track has been under repair. It was supposed to be reopened, so I actually think it's reopened now. So I'm not 100% sure. If it is still closed, you can still take it, but only, I believe, up to about halfway. I can't recall the station. And so there is no shortcut or any way to make the route shorter. So don't get confused. There is a Kurobe Alpine one. You don't want to go that way because that goes on the opposite side. You wouldn't be able to get to the Kurobe Gorge anyways.
We just bought tickets the day of, right at the station.
We did. However, I mean, the official website does recommend you purchase in advance.
Okay.
So I don't know, like, now that it's fall season, if a lot of people are going to be visiting it to see the fall foliage. So,
yeah, because it is seasonal. In the fall you could go, but in the winter you might not be able to, right?
Yeah, once it gets into the dead of winter, it is closed due to snow. But the fall is supposed to be a really nice time to go. We're supposed to be releasing a video on how to get there.
He's had a video for like a year that he's supposed to put up on how to get to Kurobe Gorge.
I just need to finish editing it, so we'll get that up there hopefully soon. But yeah, I would reserve it at least a day in advance if you can. But if you cannot, we were able to just go there and get on the train, and it was actually quite empty the day we went. It was even on a weekend. So.
Okay. Yeah, things can be different depending on the time of year you visit. Thank you.
Thank you from D Little. I don't know if we have a question from you or not.
Oh, there is. Oh, there's a separate comment here. That just goes along with that.
Okay. Thank you, D Little.
So this is, do they operate during holidays? So Shinkansen trains, yes.
Every single day. The only time they're not going to operate is usually during a natural disaster or if there is a train outage, like, which does happen sometimes. So recently during the typhoon season, there were some outages, which was unprecedented, at least how often they were actually not running.
Okay. 2 years in a row now, mid-August, the Shinkansens have been canceled due to typhoons. So I just wouldn't visit in mid-August because your train could be canceled. You could just be sitting around waiting in a train station, and also Obon Festival. So it's just like a busy time of year. So if you go typhoon season, they could cancel due to typhoon. Does Koroneko have service during holiday, especially the holiday on November 4th? We've never had a problem with them being closed.
Yeah.
Do they ever close?
I don't think they ever close. They're one of those companies that is open all the time, and they're everywhere too, so they're very easy to find.
So if you're not familiar, Koroneko is the luggage forwarding service offered by Yamato Transport. We've used it so many times, and we've never encountered like a closure. Yeah, we even had it shipped during New Year's, actually, from Hokkaido to Kyoto, and when it got there, they even packaged it for us. It was unbelievable. They like protected the wheels and everything for no extra charge. It was we're
really nice.
A big fan of shipping ahead your suitcase. If you're going on like a complicated trip where you'll be taking multiple trains, it's just easier not to have it with you. You might be able to check like the Yamato Transport website or office, but we've never encountered a closure due to a holiday.
From Bakery Favorites, have you traveled much in Kanazawa? If so, there are a restaurant experience you'd recommend for a milestone birthday. So we love Kanazawa.
It's beautiful. Definitely go to Kenrokuen Park.
So near Kenrokuen Park, there is the Samurai District, like very nearby there. So I highly recommend you stay right next to Kenrokuen Park because it is walking distance to almost everything that you want to see and do in that area, including a ton of restaurants. So we ate at a really good burger,
right?
Like at a gluten-free burger place.
That's not like a special occasion.
But it's not really special.
It was good.
It was really good. But in that area, you're going to find a ton of restaurants that I think you'll find something special there. And
is it called the Samurai District?
Yeah, so the Samurai District, right next to the Samurai District, you'll find multiple shopping streets, just all in that area, from Kenrokuen Park to the Samurai District. Just start wandering around there, and it'll be a very nice experience because it's not going to be crowded like Kyoto or Osaka. So, yeah.
Also, the art museum had a really nice restaurant. Do you remember that? I think we ate at one of the art museum restaurants.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
Sorry, you'll have to do a little bit of research if you want really like a fancy special occasion.
I don't think you can go wrong near that area. There's a really nice place. Sorry, we can't recommend a specific one.
It's a really pretty place, though. I like to go both to Kenrokuen Park, and then the castle is like right next to it, so you can walk around both.
Okay, we have an answer for the KFC.
For KFC. In the 1980s, KFC always put a Santa suit on Colonel Sanders' statue in front of every restaurant as a seasonal festive decoration. It became a tradition to eat there for Christmas ever since. Oh, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
and they probably have something special for Christmas in Japan. If you do eat at the fast food restaurants, it's kind of fun to see the differences of what they offer in Japan. You know, instead of chicken nuggets, it might be fish nuggets with wasabi dipping sauce or something a little bit different than you're used to.
Right.
Tokyo.
Okay. From Nigel, Tokyo to Hakuba on the 1st of January is likely to be busy. Planning to book on Klook. Where do I reserve seats? As we didn't listen to your video before, we purchased 180
luggage. So we have a couple videos now on our channel specifically about booking tickets on Klook. So if you go to our Kensho Quest channel, we have a recent one that says Riding Shinkansen just got easier. That has updated information about purchasing your tickets on Klook. But is that a busy time? January 1st is busy. That's New Year's.
It might be. It might be busy that day, so I would recommend purchasing in advance for that because there's a lot of skiers in Japan. Tons. I mean, of all ages. My assumption is you're going there for that. So it can be busy. The good thing is that there are a gazillion ski resorts in Japan. So hopefully that kind of spreads it out some.
So I think you're already within the 90-day window to pre-order on Klook.
Right. And so once you get, or as soon as you enter Japan, then try to book your seats as soon as possible. The first day that you're able to do that once you arrive in Japan.
I'll drop that video in the chat box.
Some Zerfane, what's the trains like in February? Are they busy during this time of year? I'm traveling from Tokyo to Kanazawa, then Takayama, then to the Golden Triangle. So are you taking the Hokuriku Arch Pass? I'm just wondering, curious. Anyways, I don't think it's going to be too busy. However, you can expect a lot of snow, and it is possible that might slow things down a bit because that area gets a ton of snow.
It should be really pretty
Yeah.
to see.
And then you're going to Sapporo. Fantastic.
Yeah, and the
Sounds
snow,
like our kind of a trip.
The snow in Sapporo in February is just gorgeous. Powder, soft, like this dry, fluffy snow. Royal sugar. That's
royal
what
sugar.
Our
yeah,
toddler calls it royal sugar.
It's just
like
so
the best,
special.
The best snow.
So as far as busy, yeah, I don't think so. I really don't think so, but I don't know for sure because we haven't traveled to Kanazawa during February, but we have been in the Sapporo area during their snow festivals, and it wasn't bad.
And some people are putting their recommendations, so for restaurants and stuff, you can see what other people put in the chat box.
Thank you everyone for participating.
Okay, so can you take luggage on the train within Tokyo? Okay, I need to reach Higashi Shinjuku from Narita, and Narita Express does not go there. The only other option. So yes, you can take your luggage onto a local train, such as in Tokyo, but try to avoid any rush hour in the morning or the evening because local trains can be so jam-packed that they're like shoving people into the train to get the door to shut, and everybody is like smashed up against each other like sardines. And so it can be a really big inconvenience if you're bringing a lot of luggage onto a local train. So if you can ride it at a non-busy time of day, or if you need to just like take a taxi for part of your journey too, that can be a lot easier.
In fact, that's what I would recommend. From Shinjuku Station to Higashi Shinjuku, I would just take a taxi. That's going to be your easiest, most stress-free way to get there. To me, it's just not worth it.
But from Narita.
Oh, I'm assuming so. So you to reach Higashi from Narita. So if you take the Narita Express, take it to Shinjuku Station. Get off at Shinjuku Station with the Narita Express. And the reason why you want to take the Narita Express because it goes directly there and you have plenty of space for your luggage. After you get off the Narita Express, get out, go outside, take a taxi to Higashi Shinjuku. That's going to be your easiest way. It's going to save you a lot of headache. Because if you do have to get on a local train, it can be messy.
Yeah. And just always try to be considerate of the other people if you do bring luggage onto a train.
Not only that, like Heidi said, if it's really busy during rush hour, you're not even be able to get your luggage on there. It just won't even be possible.
And then to get off when your station comes.
Yeah, that won't be fun.
We're taking taxis more and more lately. For short distances, it can be well worth it, especially if you have your luggage with you.
All right.
We're just looking if there's any more questions that have come in. Thank you for all those who've written to us from Japan or right after your Japan trip. We really appreciate when you come back to our channel and leave those comments letting us know how your trip went. It makes it feel worthwhile that we keep making these videos. Okay, we got to answer this one. We'll represent here from Honolulu, Hawaii. Going from Tobuniko Spacia X to Matsumoto Station, Google suggests getting off Spacia X at Kasukabe, then go to Omiya Station to catch the Shinkansen to Nagano, then to Matsumoto. That sounds correct. However, I think you can also take the Spacia X to Omiya if I'm not mistaken. If you can get off at Omiya from the Spacia X, I would just get off there. But if you have to get off at Kasukabe, then yes, that's perfectly fine. And then the Hokuriku Shinkansen will take you to Nagano. And then once you get to Nagano, you want to change to the Shinano Express. And please buy a reserved seat because I had to stand for 2 hours on the train with luggage and it was not fun the entire time. I only sat down because I had kids with me and people were very nice and gave us our seat. I think it was some foreign tourists that gave us a seat. Otherwise, we could have been standing for 2 hours as well.
Yeah.
Spacia X is a very nice ride. We've been meaning to edit and upload our video on that, but we had a grand old time having a compartment on Spacia X.
Highly recommend the Spacia X. In our opinion, out of every train we've ridden in Japan so far, it is the most luxurious and most fun train ride.
So it's not a Shinkansen, it's actually a limited express train and it's operated by a different company, by Tobu Railway, but it can be an even nicer experience than a Shinkansen train. You can have a party in your own compartment.
So hopefully we answered your questions there on that. We'll move on.
Are mid-March, mid-April crowds manageable for solo traveler?
Solo traveler, no problem. If you're a solo traveler, any time of year, even during this super crowded
That is a super
season.
crowded time of year.
Yeah, that you are going to be traveling during the most crowded time.
The sakura cherry blossoms, so a lot of people will be there. But northern Kyushu, Kansai, I mean, it's going to be crowded, but as an individual, you'll get through the crowds.
You'll get through the crowds, yes. Well, here we got one for you, Heidi.
Is it difficult to find gluten-free restaurants? Do you have a website or resource? We just usually search on Google Maps, and we just have a few favorites. Most of them are like dessert places. Full-on, completely gluten-free restaurants is not so common. You can easily get like plain white rice, but it's once you get into sauces. You know, anytime things have soy sauce in them, that usually has gluten in them. In George's video where he shared like phrases and words to know when visiting Japan, we shared a link on that one about allergy information cards. So we just choose not to eat gluten, but if you're actually allergic to something like gluten, then you can bring a pre-printed card with you to Japan to say, I'm allergic to this. Because anytime that we've eaten at a breakfast buffet that disclosed all the allergens on the little cards, like everything pretty much had gluten in it, except maybe a plain fried egg and a plain rice, because as soon as they add any sauce to it, or even like a seasoning, it probably has gluten. So if you're actually allergic, then please bring an allergy information card.
There's a couple of things. So sushi restaurants, they're everywhere. So you'll be able to eat gluten-free there. Obviously, just don't use the soy sauce. And a lot of the chain type restaurants, like we mentioned earlier, like a Gusto or even a Denny's or things like that, they all have allergy menus. Or there's a couple of dishes that they will have.
So it's called like the low allergen menu. So they'll have one, maybe two dishes that you can choose from, where that dish doesn't have any of the major allergens in it. So it won't have like gluten, wheat, dairy, peanuts.
Yes.
Also at amusement parks too. There's usually one, you might have to ask for it special, but if you ask for like the low allergen meal, even most amusement parks in Japan will have like one option like that.
Otherwise, I mean, every city, definitely, there's gluten-free restaurants. There's more popping up all the time. So if you just do a search, you can find them. There's not a ton of them, but like if
you're in Tokyo, if you're in a fancy area, where is that?
So T's Kitchen, so that's in Roppongi.
Roppongi. Yeah, whenever we go like downtown into the major city, I'm always like trying to eat at a gluten-free because you can find it there. Otherwise, the more traditional of Japanese food you can find, then the less likely it had gluten introduced.
Yeah, but we found them in even in small towns like in Kawagoe, which is also like a little touristy town to the northeast or northwest of Tokyo. We found an excellent gluten-free restaurant. We'll list some in the bottom, in the description. But if you can tell us where you're going, we might be able to give you some better suggestions as well.
And in the description box, I dropped the link for those allergy information cards if you want to print them out ahead of time before your trip so you can show them what you're allergic to. So which is a better way of booking? Smartex, Klook. So they both have their advantages and their disadvantages. The main thing is if you try a website such as Smartex and it will not accept any of your credit cards, then Klook accepts a wide range of payments. You can pay with all different currencies, all different methods. The biggest difference I would say is on Smartex, you can choose an exact seat. So, if you want seat 4E, you can select that. Whereas on Klook, you can say, I want to buy a reserved seat ticket, but then Klook is going to assign a seat to you. And they do take into your preference, like you can select you want a view of Mount Fuji, or you can select you want oversized luggage. But again, it's subject to availability, whereas going with Smartex, you're going more direct. They're now very similar in getting a QR code to scan at the ticket gate. Any other?
Yes, there's one other thing also. Smartex only works in the Tokaido, Sanyo, Kyushu areas. So from Tokyo south all the way to Fukuoka in Kyushu Island, the only place it works. So if you're going north, then you want to use Klook, or you can also use the JR East website. But again, the main issue with that is credit cards often don't work for foreigners. Okay, we'll just take a few more questions here. We're running close to, I think, 2 hours now. So let's see here. From Sam, I tried booking Shinkansen tickets for last week of December, but it won't give seat reservations. Should I just wait buying the tickets a month before our travel date?
I think we kind of just mentioned this. If you book somewhere like Klook, then they won't assign the exact seat until you're within that 1 month window.
But same
and
with
if you book somewhere
anything.
like Smartex, you can't really do it. Well, they might have pre-order too, but like if you really want to buy your ticket, you can only really buy it 1 month in advance.
If you want a reservation, you might want to just wait.
Last week of December is getting into New Year time of year, so once you are within that, it's either 30 days or 1 month window, I would book right away then.
Absolutely.
But also, if you pre-order somewhere like Klook, then as soon as those tickets are released, they'll book it right away for you. So, you know, if you pre-order as soon as the 30 days hits, they will assign you a seat at that point. So, I mean, it might be it's either way. If you want to, you know, pre-order and then find out what your seat is, or if you want to wait till 30 days. And we always mark things on our calendar to make sure we know what time in our time zone things are being released and what day, especially for things that sell out in Japan. I booked Spaceship X through Klook almost 2 months in advance. 1 month before our trip, they ended up canceling it because it sold out. Would you suggest to book via Tobu Web next time? Yeah, that's the thing, is that Klook is a third party, so they're just trying to get your ticket.
Yeah, also what I recommend is try booking the return instead of the...
That's what we did.
Yeah.
We took a regular Spaceship going to Nikko, and then we rode the Spaceship X coming back.
Yes. So please look at the return. Those seats are usually more available than the going to. And I think it's a better way to do it, unless you want planning on doing it both ways. That way, you know, on your way back, you get to enjoy more.
And did we book through Klook?
We actually did book it through Klook, yeah.
For the Spaceship X. For the regular Spaceship, just like a more regular train, we just bought tickets at the ticket machine. Yeah, there always is that risk on Klook that either you don't get the specific type of seat you wanted, such as the Mount Fuji view, or you might not get one with the luggage compartment, or it could be completely sold out as well. Planning for Hokkaido Sapporo for Yuki Matsuri, yes. February 1st week, then explore Tohoku from函館, Amari, Akita, all the way down to Tokyo. Any tips for this transportation, more places? You're in luck, because in November we are going to be releasing a series of videos all about how we did this last winter. So we went up to Sapporo for the Snow Festival and Otaru's Light Festival and Asahikawa's Snow Festival, and then what we did from Sapporo coming all the way back down to Tokyo is we used the JR East South Hokkaido Rail Pass.
That's a handful.
And we do have a video that explains about this pass. We made the video before we actually took the journey. I can try to link that in the chat box. And so that allowed us unlimited transportation on the limited express train that you first take from Sapporo, then taking the Shinkansen, and I guess other JR trains are covered too.
But a couple of quick places that might be of interest to you is I would check out the Snow Monsters in Aomori. This will all be in a video that we will be releasing soon. And if you have kids or if you're into Pokemon, check out the Pokemon with You train. There's only one in all of Japan, and it's along the way. You would have to get it from Ichinoseki Station. Again, more details on that in a future video. But since you're going for the Yuki Matsuri, I highly recommend you also check out the Otaru Winter Festival. It's a tiny little thing, but it is really, really cute. And just being in a small, quaint town, it's easier to see everything, you know.
But their festival is impressive in the Asahikawa. The snow sculptures are even bigger than in Sapporo, but without as many crowds.
Okay. I was just talking about Otaru. He's talking about Asahikawa. So they're in different areas. But
so basically, we timed it. We went to 3 snow festivals, which was extremely tiring. But they planned them within a similar time frame. So you could do just Sapporo if you want to, or if you're in that area. I'm also working on a video where I'm going to share a Hokkaido itinerary if you want to hit Sapporo, Otaru, and Asahikawa. But definitely stay tuned for our video with our adventure.
Yeah, I missed a question or a comment up there. But anyways, these festivals kind of overlap, so if you miss one, you might be able to catch the other. So again, look at the Otaru, the Sapporo, as well as Asahikawa, and they're all really good. You know, obviously Sapporo is the big one, but the other ones are impressive in their own ways as well.
And I just dropped into the chat box our video that talks about going from Sapporo to Tokyo by train. That has what our plan was before we did the trip, and then we changed up our we changed up our travel a little bit, and that's the great thing is when you do have a regional pass, you can easily change your route and change which trains you take.
Okay, I think we are going to wrap it up because we are over at 2 hours now. So thank you everyone for joining us this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world. And any more final thoughts on that? Oh, also let us know what other topics you are all interested in, either in a live format or in future videos.
I just put into the chat box our affiliate link for if you do decide to purchase your Shinkansen tickets or a regional or JR pass on Klook. We really appreciate the commissions we earn when you do it through our Klook affiliate link. We don't have an affiliate link for Smartex. We have videos explaining how to use Smartex as well if you want to do it that way. And on Klook, if you're buying Shinkansen tickets, not for JR passes, but for Shinkansen tickets and some activities, you can use our coupon code KenchoQuestKlook. I believe it works for people who are in the USA or Canada. I'm really sorry that it can't work across the world. I've asked them to, and they won't allow us to expand our coupon code. But anytime that you're booking something on Klook, even if it's Disneyland tickets or Team Lab tickets, you can at least try KenchoQuestKlook and see if that works. And ahead of this video, I already put some links into the description box of this video that has a lot of other Shinkansen videos that you can reference. So our beginner's guide to Japan Shinkansen trains, how to purchase the tickets on Klook, how to purchase on Smartex and link your ticket to your IC card, our beginner's guide to the Japan Rail Pass and whether the Japan Rail Pass is worth it. So those links are already there. And then as we have time, we might add some more links into the description box. We also have links to information about oversized luggage, how to use the luggage compartment, holidays, all those things. Always look in the description box of this video and then any of our videos that we watch. You can go look in the description box as well.
We're trying to organize things better too because we realize we have so many videos, it's kind of hard to find stuff. So if you're looking for anything particular, you can always ask us as well.
Yeah, and please, can you go back to that? Please, if you're new here and if you're new to planning a Japan trip, then you can start with our video that's the start here, how to plan a Japan trip. Because in that video, what I tried to do is to kind of organize all of our other video and content and walk you through step by step which part of your trip you would plan first and then next and then next.
You want to go to the presentation?
Yeah. So thank you everybody who joined us live. And if you're watching this later as a replay, you can go ahead and put your questions down in the comment box. We do try our best to respond to people's comments as we can. Anytime that you want to ask us a question, the best way to do so is by commenting on one of our videos. That's the way we're the most likely to respond.
And also try to start your own comment because a lot of times they get lost in threads and we don't get to them because of that.
Yeah, if you put your question as a sub-comment under somebody else's comment, there's a good chance we'll never see that.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.